So let's begin with a basic use of Sass, which is using variables. Now a variable just means that we assign a value to some kind of label. And there's two reasons why we do this. The first is to reduce repetition, so we can use a variable in multiple places, and thus when we change the value of the variable, it cascades to all of the places where that variable is being used. And the second reason is that we can name a variable anything we want, so it will give a value more meaning. So let's see it in action and then we'll return to both of those ideas. So let's scroll up to the top of our SCSS page and let's create a variable. The way we create one is by starting with a $, and this is conventional if you've used PHP before. And what we're going to do is create a variable for this color here. So we can see a preview to the left in our IDE, and basically it's dark gray. So let's call this dark gray. And the way we assign a value is by using a colon. This is the same syntax that we use in CSS. And then we'll copy the value from where we're using it. So right here, we'll just copy this, paste it in. And just like in CSS, we'll end this with a semicolon. All right, so now we can copy this variable and replace the values in our CSS with the variable wherever we're using this value. So here's our first location. We'll paste this in, and depending on what IDE that you're using, you might even see a preview here for that color, which is pretty awesome. And then let's do a search in our CSS for this color to see where else it's being used. So here's the first place. I'm going to press Ctrl G to go to the next instance, and here's the second instance. Now it's possible that we could be using the same color in multiple places in our CSS, but be using them for multiple reasons, and therefore not want to use the same variable for both places. In this case though, the color of this text is intended to be identical with the color of the text around it. If you remember from an earlier video, what we're doing is changing the color of the A tag so that it matches the text around it. So we definitely want this color to change as the text changes. So we'll replace this value here with the variable as well. And now if we save this, nothing is going to happen in our browser because we're still using the same CSS file. So we have to update our CSS file now to reflect the changes in our Sass. So if we go back to our command line, we'll do the same command that we did before, sass styles.scss, and then the name of our CSS file, and I'll hit enter. And our CSS shouldn't change at all. So if we go back to our browser, where our example is, and refresh, everything should look the same. But now if we go back to our editor, and let's change this dark gray color to something obvious, like red. And then we'll save it, and we'll go back to the command line, and convert our Sass file over to our CSS file again, and then go back to the browser and refresh, you'll see that now everything is red, including our link. If we check out our CSS here, you can see the color of the link has turned to red, and so has the color in the body. So what we were able to do here is pretty powerful. We were able to change just one variable and have that cascade to two separate places in our CSS. Now, while that might not taken us that long to do manually, as our CSS gets longer, we'll have more and more instances of different values that we end up repeating. And if we can centralize that repetition in one location, it makes it much easier to change later on. So I'm going to change this back to our color here and remove the red. And so now that you've seen this in action, perhaps the reasons why we're doing this are a little bit more clear. Again, the first reason is that we want to reduce repetition, and we've seen that the value in doing that is that we only have to change a value in one place and have it cascade to wherever it's being used. And the second reason is meaning. Our variable now says dark gray, and when we look in our CSS now, dark gray makes a lot more sense than the hash symbol 606060. It has some meaning. And so reading this makes a little bit more sense, and also later, when we want to use this color again, it's going to be a lot easier to remember, dark-gray, and you'll find yourself being able to write CSS off of the top of your head in a way that you just can't do when you're using plain CSS.